Okay,
Okay.
good morning, everybody. And I know it's a little bit early for some of us on the West Coast here, but we are back again today, continuing our celebration of Iceland this week with our friend Lars in Iceland. Hello, good afternoon to you.
Good morning. Yeah, it's afternoon for me. It's strange for me to say good morning because it's getting dusk here very soon.
Well, and that's exactly why we decided to do this a little bit earlier today. So we got some
Yeah.
light. So we thought it'd be kind of fun to show people around and see what Iceland looks like. So I'm just going to go ahead and let you take it away, Lara. Show us where you are and tell us a little bit about what we're seeing.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sarah's live stream. I'm going to switch the camera around so you will see something else than my gray face. Let me see. Yeah, there it goes. All right, so I am walking here on residential street in my hometown called Hafnarfjörður, or the Harbour's Fjord. And around me there are many rather old houses. In Iceland we call the houses old when they are built early in the 20th century. So it's similar maybe like in America. Iceland is actually with rather young houses because we did not build houses for almost 1,000 years. They just piled up some rocks and turf and lived there. So it wasn't until the late 1800s and 20th century that we started to build real houses, most of the people. So these houses are built somewhere in the beginning of the 1900s. They are really beautiful, at least for my taste, and decorated with corrugated iron, but the frame is very likely frame. Also in this neighborhood, but they are then younger, likely built after 1920s or something like that. I will take you here into a really beautiful lava garden that we are approaching. And the most part of this town is actually built on old lava fields. Lava that was erupted about 8,000 years ago. Here we have a small residential building. We stand upside in that building. So here on the left side we have this beautiful lava garden, and it's actually a residence of the hidden people that we have so many here in Iceland. So all these lava hills here, they are hidden people. So they live inside these rocks. You are probably living close to Sarah, and you recognize the weather like that we are having here. It's windy, it's rainy.
Yeah, you've got a little bit of snow I can see too.
Yeah. So this garden here is really beautiful. And it's a little more shelter here. And the trees are all decorated with Christmas lights.
So you said this is a private garden?
No, this is a public garden.
A public
but
garden.
It's of course, it's private for those who live in the garden.
I see. Oh,
the
okay.
hidden people.
The hidden people, the elves.
Yeah. I don't know what you were expecting to see when you were seeing outdoor footages from Iceland. You probably expected that I were walking on crampons and or ski or something like that. But as you see, the name is not relevant, at least not for this part of Iceland. And we haven't had almost any snow so far this entire winter. That's though not the fact for the rest of Iceland, because many parts of Iceland, they are drowning in snow. This beautiful park here, beg your pardon?
Oh, I heard it. I recall a story once about how the Vikings went to Iceland and Greenland once, and they wanted to keep Iceland and they didn't want Greenland. So they named it Greenland so that people would want it, but they wouldn't want Iceland. Is that true?
No, the story goes something like this, that Eric the Red, he was had been outlawed from Norway, and he came to Iceland and had some struggles here as well, and was outlawed here as well. So he had nowhere to go except to see if there was something else to the west of Iceland, and there he found Greenland. And he said, okay, this might be a nice place to live in, and I am not going to live here alone. So if I will be able to tempt the people to live here, I should give this country attractive name. So he gave it the name Greenland. And he could trick some thousands of people to go there with him. So I think the population there may have reached somewhere close to 10,000 people when it was most populated. And as you may know, then his son, Leifur Eriksson, he was crossing the Atlantic to pay his father a visit. Actually going to, his goal was to convert him to Christianity. But he missed this island and sailed further to west and came to America. And later on, he and some other people, they tried to establish a settlement there, but they had some feuds with the natives and decided to apart settlement. And they actually, though, one of his friends, couple, they managed to give a birth to a son over there. So an Icelandic origin boy was the first European origin child to be born in America.
Wow.
Yeah, he and his mother later moved on to Iceland and spent the rest of their life there.
So we're actually an Icelandic country.
Yeah, and his mother, this lady that gave the birth to this child, she traveled also across the Atlantic into the other direction and walked all the way to Rome to meet the Pope and to have appellation for her sins, and ended her life as a kind of a nun here in Iceland.
So the place you're walking us through right now, you said, is a lava park, and that's one of the things that's sort of the most famous about Iceland is the geologic activity.
Yes. Yeah. And we are actually living here on the edge of the continent. So here just a few kilometers, maybe 10 kilometers away where we are walking, we can say that we have the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, where the two continents of America and Europe join. So they are splitting apart here through Iceland. And we have regular earthquakes and eruptions here, and it's actually a really active area. Here we are approaching the more busy street. How is the sound now as the wind builds up? Is it okay?
Yeah. So Iceland, it seems, at least your village, looks a little bit like Norway, or even a little bit like Seattle.
Here we are walking towards the harbor. Do you see that in your screen?
Yes.
Okay. This is actually downtown here in this area.
Oh, we've lost your video. There we go.
Okay.
Yeah. You said this is the downtown part of your village where you live, right?
There is a bus passing by. I attempted to cross the street here. This street here used to be my home street when I was a little boy. Really old houses. Many of them are built maybe before 1900.
So you said because there's not a lot of wood there, the houses, the siding is metal, is that right?
There is not much wood here, but they used wood though to build the houses until I think 1915 or something like that. But they had to import all that wood. And there has not been built a house in Iceland from a native wood since, yeah, I think since the settlement time. Until about 2 years ago, they built the first house made from local wood. So for about 1,000 years, we had to import all timber for timber work. Because my forefathers, they burned most of the trees to keep their houses warm.
Oh, okay.
Here's a beautiful old church. Oops. Well, I missed the control of my gimbal.
That's great.
Yeah. Here we have the main downtown street. And the sun shops and like that.
So with the coronavirus and all that, are people staying home more, or are they still going out and doing their daily things that they need to do?
The things are fairly good here in Iceland now. For about 2 weeks, we have had almost no findings of infections. So people are we are rather free here. We have no limitations. So we have, I think, limitation of grouping for about 50 people. And whenever you go in a store or something like that, you have to wear a mask. but otherwise the life is fairly normal now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and but the pubs are still closed.
The pub
And
is still closed. Oh, that's surprising.
pubs are closed. Yeah, because they don't trust people to be careful when they are drunk.
That's wise.
Yeah, so things are actually going fairly well now here. And people are, and the authorities are rather relaxed at the moment.
Okay. So these are kind of all the main shops then in your village, right?
Yeah, these are not maybe main shops, but we have here bookstores, we have clothes stores and jewelry stores here. So, but this is what the real downtown of this town here. And I think this town is the fourth biggest town in third or fourth biggest town in Iceland.
Okay.
30,000 people that live here.
So would this be kind of a typical day weather-wise for the wintertime?
Yeah, it is. It has been colder last weeks, but it and dry. But it is changed a little bit to a little wetter now for next days. So the weather here is the typical weather here is some kind of unusual weather. Because the weather is never as you expect it to be, or never as you want it to be. Here we have ice cream shop.
Nice. Is that popular even in the wintertime? Probably.
Yeah, it's open all year round.
Is it?
People. Yeah. It's, here is the main church of our town. And now we are approaching a really interesting site. It's a Viking village. And we have Viking festivals here every year in the beginning of the summer. And a Viking theme restaurant running all year round.
We've got a question here. Somebody asked how bad is COVID in Iceland, but we just answered that, which is that Iceland is doing pretty well, but they don't have any infections.
Yeah, we
Like,
are
back to normal. That's really nice.
it's almost to normal. It's not fully normal, but I think there is only one person lying in the hospital. That was the news in the morning, and we haven't had any infections for about 2 weeks. Not in the community. No community infection for about 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I just read an article last night that was saying that Iceland is going to allow tourists to come back as long as they're vaccinated.
Yeah, actually, Iceland has never been closed.
Oh,
but we have had just this requirement that if you visit Iceland, you have to go in quarantine.
Ah.
Yeah, and now you come to Iceland, you will be tested on the arrival, and you have to quarantine for about 5 days, and go for a second test. And if you are good, then you are free to go. So you have to do a 5 days quarantine when you come to Iceland. And this has worked fairly well. But here you see this beautiful Viking theme houses here. Kind of a temple. It's unfortunately closed now, otherwise I would walk indoors with you.
So this is not an original Viking structure, but it's kind of a copy,
No,
a restaurant and a celebration area. Then for the
This used to be workshops here for the harbor when this harbor was more active. But this harbor is not a very active harbor today. Maybe across the street here to walk along the harbor. They have here some chicken here. For their, I don't know if you can see them. At least one chicken there.
Yep.
Yeah. Here we have the harbor, and the small ship there and some yachts. And then this big ship here, the cruise ship, is research ship. So it's sent out to find fishes and research fishing grounds of Iceland. And the colorful buildings there is the Institute of Ocean Researches here in Iceland. So they go and check on the status of the fish stocks and give out fishing permissions for every fish stock we catch here in Iceland.
So what is the name of your town? Because this is not Reykjavik, but you're close by. What's the name?
Yeah, it's named Hafnarfjörður. Hafnarfjörður. That means the harbor's fjord. And this used to be actually the main harbor for Reykjavik before they had their own harbor in the beginning of last century. Because the harbor in Reykjavik is by nature not as good as here. This used to be when people came to Iceland with goods or things like that, they often came here because it was better shelters for the ships. Yeah, here we have a little shopping center.
You mentioned that people in the past lived in stone buildings rather than wooden buildings, and so all the buildings in Iceland are basically new. What changed to
Yeah,
make people start building these nicer houses?
I think that our economy changed. But, you could, when we started our independence movement in the 1800s and 1900s, the money started to come into the country and people were able to build proper houses. Iceland was a really poor and awful place to live in until, I would say, in my lifetime.
Wow, okay. And it was a colony of Norway, is that right?
No, it was colony of Denmark.
Denmark, okay.
Yeah, and Denmark was also colonizing Norway until I think 1914 or something like that.
So is your language then, is it similar to Danish?
This similar is maybe like comparing Spanish and Italian or something like that. We cannot communicate directly. I can read their words. Many of the words are similar, but their pronunciation is very different. So we have to learn their language to understand them. They don't learn ours because it's too difficult for them. So our language is very difficult, it's very old, and it's actually one of the two oldest languages still spoken in Europe. So here we have some new constructions, residential buildings, and this used to be fish factory area, but they teared the fish factory down maybe 10 years ago, and these beautiful houses instead.
So do most people there live in a single family house, or do most people live in apartment buildings like these?
I think today I can say that most people live in apartment buildings like this, but there are still a big portion of people that live in single apartment houses. And so Iceland towns and villages are really spread around. My gimbal, it's very difficult to control this gimbal wearing Bernie Sanders mittens.
Oh, yeah, no, you're doing great. Nice mittens, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. And there we have the oldest houses in this town. They were built in the turn of 1700s. The blue houses you see are getting there in the distance. Among the oldest houses in Iceland, actually.
Wow.
Maybe when you look at the rooftops of many of the houses, you may notice that you don't see any chimneys. There are chimneys on the older houses, but many of them have been taken down though, because in Iceland we have the privilege of having the geothermal energy to heat our houses. So most of the houses in Iceland, about 90%, is heated with renewable geothermal energy.
Wow, that's incredible. And how do they do that?
Yeah.
They tap into an underground source of heat?
Yeah, they drill deep holes into the ground, and then pump up the hot water and distribute it to long homes, to long pipes.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really nice. And this is an energy source that we can use both for heating the houses and making electricity as well. So about 20% of the electricity in Iceland is produced with geothermal energy.
So Iceland is essentially a green destination. It's a
Yeah,
green,
yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
We literally can say that we only use fossil fuels for transportation, and that is gradually fading away as well, because more and more people are turning to electrical vehicles. Like you can see there, they're charging the car there. Over. So the audience have any interesting questions for me?
Let's see, I'm taking a look. So one question that I have for you is that I was looking recently at a report about democracy in the world right now, and Iceland is rated as one of the best democracies. Is that true?
Yeah, it is working fairly well here. And I think when people think about people's rights, then we score very high on that, with women rights and people sex right and whatever you want to call it. So you have really good rights here. You can do almost everything or be any way you like. It's fairly good here.
So I imagine also that they have like socialized healthcare and all of that sort of thing, right?
Yes, yes. We are not fully like the other Scandinavian countries. We are a little bit behind them, but we pay, I would say, fair amounts for our social services. So you have to pay a little bit if you go to a doctor. The hospital is free, and most operations are free. But we also have private clinics, so you can go to them as well. And they still not cost very much here, because although you go to the private clinic, then the government covers most of the cost.
Okay.
And
is
for
the tax rate
children,
really high? That's always the first question that Americans ask when they ask about healthcare. Is the tax rate high?
yeah, we have, of course, high tax here. We have, I think it's about 38% tax.
Oh, that's a
Almost
lot lower
people.
than some European countries, though.
Yeah, it's but it's of course what everybody wants to have a little bit lower. But we get a lot back, like the healthcare service and free schools, a university, for example, will cost you about $700 for the whole year.
Do you take foreign students?
Yeah, we do that. And actually, if you go to the University of Iceland, then those who are graduating for doctor degree, they are, I think, last time I heard, they were 2/3 of them were foreigners.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but of course, if you don't come from the European countries, then you will have to pay full price for the university, except you get some support or something like that.
So you speak English, obviously, and Bjarni speaks English quite well. So is that a typical, does everybody in Iceland speak English?
Yeah, they do that. Because if you want to communicate to the bigger world, then you have to learn foreign language, because you can probably count people on your fingers outside Iceland that speak Icelandic. So, because nobody learns our language, we have to learn their languages.
So people traveling there won't have a problem meeting people who speak English. Almost everybody does.
Yeah. And today, when I was kid, we just learned it in school, and it was taught to us. But today, kids, they learn it mostly from, of course, YouTube or playing computer games. So my sons that are 14 and 16, living at home, they speak much better English than I do, for example.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because, yeah, they have learned it from their childhood. You know, they started playing those games when they were really young and just picked up the language themselves.
I have sons almost the exact same age. I have a 13-year-old and a 16-year-old.
Okay, yeah, that's good. And then I have also your older boys, they are around 30s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it looks like the water next to you is frozen then, so it is quite...
Yeah, it is. Yeah. This is a little theme park here. A lot of sculptures to be found here, and playground. I'm trying to control this. It's doesn't respond very well to my methods. And here we have a typical stone wall, like they used to erect here in the past, before we imported timber for such a thing. My forefathers, they would fence their yard with lava stones like this. And many of the houses were built the same way, just piled up stones like this, with turf between them to have the insulation.
So how many volcanoes do you have in Iceland? Because this is very volcanic looking.
Yeah, it's a lava interiors, and they are actually countless. But because in Iceland we talk about volcanic sites, not volcanoes all the time, because most of the eruptions, they come up in a new place. So they only erupt maybe once, and next eruption comes in a different place. So there are, if you think about volcanoes like you are probably referring to, then we have somewhere between 20 and 30 active mountains that are volcanoes that erupt again and again. But then we have those countless volcanic sites, because the rifting that is splitting the country into halves. It goes through the center of the country, so the volcanic sites, they line up, I can say, over that entire area.
So a few years ago, there was that volcano that erupted and disrupted all of the air traffic control around the world.
Yes.
Has that caused any trouble recently?
No, it's we probably can be relaxed about that volcano for next 150 years.
Oh, really? So that was a very
Yeah.
unusual thing. Okay.
Yeah. It's called Eyjafjallajökull. That's I think it got more attention for the name than the incident itself.
Yeah, except for that there were a lot of people that got stuck. I was working at the time in Europe, and a lot of our clients were not able to get over. Yeah.
Yeah. And I at that time, of course, I thought this would be one of the worst catastrophes that the fly industry would experience, but we have experienced much worse time now. Surely. So
yeah.
I'm surprised that any airline is still operating.
Well, hopefully a year from now they'll all be operating, but we'll see.
Yeah. It's I think for my half, this is of course a really bad thing to have this COVID, but there are many things that come good from it. People are more relaxed, and for my family, they are having me home all the time now, for the first time in many years. It's started the guiding business, and so I just play the ladies part of the home now. And try to clean a little bit and things like that. It's a good change in that way.
I like to do the same thing. I like to focus on the positive.
Yeah. And my wife, she is running a shop, and for her, this time since the COVID started is the best time of her operation.
Why?
Yeah, because everything is rather expensive in Iceland. So people often just want abroad to buy the things. But as we cannot travel now, then people have to buy their things and spend their money here in Iceland. And many shops, they are experiencing much better time than they have ever experienced before.
How interesting, because people are forced to shop local.
Yeah, people like to spend their money, and so it's really good. So here we have a very typical lava field, almost untouched.
This reminds me so much of Sicily. I spend a lot of time in Sicily around Mount Etna, and this is the landscape. Yeah, very similar.
Yeah, that's very similar lava as you might see there.
So a couple of questions that have come in from viewers. Somebody was wondering, there are red and white stripe markers on the footpath. What does that mean?
I didn't pay attention to them.
Oh, you don't pay attention. I think they're just trail markers. I'm imagining.
Yeah, they might be having this for some running or something like that.
Yeah, I think I've seen this before.
Yeah.
And then I've noticed as well that there's no trash anywhere. It seems like everybody's really kept things tidy. What is the attitude in Iceland towards, keeping the landscape clean?
I think the attitude is to keep everything as clean as possible, and I think also we have the fortunate of being rather few, So probably on average, we throw the same amount of trash as you Americans do, but because of population density, you don't see so much here. And the wind takes care of a lot of it as well. It
The wind.
blown away.
Yeah, because this is a public park and there's no garbage cans or anything, but it's
No, yeah. It's really nice. And I would assume that because this is a public park, also that it is taken care of by municipal workers that clean around here.
So I imagine because you have so many of these wonderful parks with trails, do people get out and walk a lot? Is that a principal kind of exercise?
Yeah, actually, yeah. It you know, in this COVID times, we have been experiencing that workout centers have been closed for most of the year, although they are open now though. But people then instead have been walking in the mountains, in the wild, and shops that are selling outdoor gear like cross-country skis and things like that. They just sell everything they bring to the stores. And if you want to buy a bike, you probably have to wait for it. People buy bikes, cross-country skis, and things like that. So people are doing really well. I try to walk about 8 to 20 kilometers a day, for example.
Do you? Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. Spend so I can eat more.
So you can eat more. So you can have more sheep's head, right?
Yeah.
So when you walk, do you do a walk like this, or do you get further out into the countryside?
I happen to live on the edge of the town, so I just step out of my back door and I am in the wild. So I walk mostly in the wild. I usually don't walk on prepared trails. Did you hear me or?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, okay. Because you were frozen, so I thought I was maybe frozen too.
It froze for just a second, but it's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Here we have entered into younger area. These houses are probably built in the 60s and 70s. And a small kindergarten here. It's nice to be kids in this lava environment. You have a lot of things to climb in and play in.
Are schools open right now?
Yes, they are open. Not in this time of the day though, but they are operating, yes.
They are.
They are operating as normally. So all the schools can run now. And you see, we still have the Christmas decoration lights glowing, and that is on purpose. That is to cheer people's mind up in these COVID times.
Yeah, I've done the same thing. I've left my Christmas lights on for well past Christmas. Yeah, it's cheerful.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's a really beautiful landscape, very rugged.
It is. It's a really beautiful town here, and beautiful combination of newer and older residential buildings.
So do most of the towns in Iceland look kind of similar to this, where they've got the rugged lava fields and then the kind of low-rise buildings?
Oh, this is rather unique here.
Oh, is
This
it?
is, yeah, there are not many towns built directly on lava fields. So, in my mind, I can remember maybe 3 or 4 towns like this. But it's rather unusual. And like we were talking about yesterday, then these lava fields, they have a lot of lava sculptures in them, and probably because of their shape, then they tend to trying to find the words. They tend to increase the imagination of the people. So that's how probably we find up all these stories about the hidden people are like that. Because in certain kind of a weather, then these shapes, they can look very real, like people or animal or beast or something like that. Our future national team players in soccer. Here we are passing this district school.
Oh, this is a school. Okay.
Yeah. Víðistaðaskóli. The schools are, this is for the elementary school level from 6 to 16, something like that. Usually operating until around 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay.
Yeah, so from around 8 o'clock until 2 o'clock.
So do most kids end up going to college when they're done with school?
Yeah, college or trade schools. Like that. So yeah, college is the mainstream, but I like to have people or kids going more to the trade schools as well, because sometimes we are undermanned in the trade industry.
Sure.
In a way, yeah, it's probably the same problem.
There's not enough of a focus on that in the United States, in my view, that there's the trade schools are very valuable, actually.
Yeah, and here, if you have a trade skills, then you are certain about a job, because there are always lack of trades people. Here we have some community vegetable garden here.
Oh, cool.
It's of course all sleeping now, so here they probably grow some potatoes or turnips or something like that, carrots.
I imagine you can do pretty well with growing crops because you get so much light in the summertime, right?
Yeah, it's correct. And actually, I think farming is fairly self-sustainable here in Iceland. We could almost produce everything that we need ourselves. We would have no problem with wheat or something like that, but we grow a little bit of wheat, but That's still though way under our own need. But most other things we can produce ourselves, and because of the geothermal energy, we don't need to depend on the temperature so much either, because we can use greenhouses and we grow there tomatoes, cucumbers, and many other warm-seeking vegetables.
Yeah. So I have a question. Somebody's asking, is February a good month to see the Northern Lights from where you live?
It's a really good month, actually, and there have been some activity recently. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, I was looking at the Northern Light activity graph yesterday, and actually when we were having the Thorris dinner,
Yeah.
there were active lights, and if I would have known about that then, I would probably have been able to show it to you.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, I missed it though because I was not looking for them.
When you live with it all the time, you don't think about it, right?
Yeah, and actually in Iceland, we don't think so much about the Northern Lights. And when the tourism was starting here, we were just muttering and laughing about all those foreign people that came here to look at the Northern Lights. I didn't understand what all this was about. But now we don't laugh anymore because the Northern Lights are one of our main source of income at this moment.
The tourism is new for Iceland, then. It's been what, within the last 20 years, I think, right?
Much less. It's I would say it didn't start until 2015, 16.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, before that, it was only summer tourism, and winter was completely dead. But last 3-4 years, then it has exploded completely. And which is really good for people like me, then we have been able to work all year around as a guide. That was not possible 6-7 years ago.
So you've been a guide for a long time then, and you were doing this before it was cool then, right?
No, I've been doing this only for about 5 years now.
Oh, 5 years, okay.
Yeah, and it was just after this started, it was not feasible for me to be a tour guide before that, because I wouldn't have a job as a guide for the whole year. I would have to do something else in the winter time. That's why actually I didn't start this industry before.
So now, I mean, in a normal year, they would be running tours almost all year round, right?
Yeah, it's really active all year round now, except of course this strange year. So we are now approaching the place where we started.
Excellent.
Here you can see how people deal with the wind. We build good wind fences and patios, so you can have shelter to barbecue and enjoy the summer sun when the summer is.
Well, this has been such a fantastic walk, Lars. I've really enjoyed getting a chance to see it. I feel like I've just gone out for a walk with you. It's like I've been transported.
That's good, and I'm happy also that it was possible. I was so afraid that my voice recording would not be very good.
Yeah, actually, it's been surprisingly good. I was concerned that it was going to be too windy. It was windy just for a tiny little bit, but the rest of it, it's been great. And we can hear you perfectly. So
yeah.
This is
Good.
cool.
So,
So thank you so much, Lars, for showing us around Iceland. So again, for those of you who are watching, this has been a walk around, not Reykjavik, but a town nearby, the third or fourth largest town in Iceland. And no snow on the ground, but that's normal for Iceland at this time of the year, I guess.
yeah,
Go ahead.
that's correct. It's normal for this area of Iceland.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And so we've been
Yeah.
joined by Lars, who is from Peak and Intrepid Travel, who is one of our business partners that we work with when we present our tours. And if you are interested in going to Iceland with us, we're going to be going in September. And it sounds really good. It sounds like Iceland's preparing. They're open for business, and they're going to be, if people are vaccinated, they're going to be able to travel to Iceland in the fall. That's really exciting. So I am looking very much forward to seeing you in Iceland in September, Lars.
Yeah, same for me. And I hope that we will have a really good time then. And lot of people, everybody excited to travel around. No COVID or anything like that.
Yes, and
That would
I'm
be
very
really
much looking
nice.
forward to having a little bit of fermented shark and a beer with you. I think that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Whale beer or whatever you like.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your hometown with us. It was really wonderful. I really appreciate it.
Thank you all, everybody, and have a nice day. I'm going to have a nice evening. Okay,
Go warm
goodbye.
up.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.